From childhood, you were taught a simple rule: be good, be polite, be kind, share your toys, don't raise your voice, don't make others uncomfortable. And so, you learned to shrink yourself, to hold your tongue, to put others first. Society applauded you for this. Teachers called you well-behaved. Parents called you obedient. Friends called you nice. But Schopenhauer would call you something else: weak. For Schopenhauer, kindness that is born out of fear, obligation, or a desperate need for approval is not virtue. It is slavery. It is the slow erosion of your will, the silent death of your individuality. When you live your life to be good, you are not living for yourself. You are living as a servant to the expectations of others. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to scream no? How many times have you carried burdens that were not yours only because you were afraid of disappointing someone? How many times have you allowed yourself to be used, all in the name of kindness? This is the poison Schopenhauer saw in morality, the demand that you sacrifice yourself endlessly on the altar of others, and the world rewards you for it. People like you. They praise you. They call you generous, dependable, selfless. But beneath that applause is a darker truth. They don't admire you. They exploit you. They don't respect you. They drain you. Your kindness becomes a currency, and the more you spend, the emptier you become. Schopenhauer warned that morality, when distorted, becomes a trap. It convinces you that suffering in silence makes you noble, that losing yourself makes you virtuous, that being endlessly good makes you strong. But in reality, it makes you powerless. It makes you invisible. It makes you forget who you are. The truth is brutal. Being too good does not make you loved. It makes you weak. The problem with being too good is not simply that you give too much. It's that you give yourself away. Every time you silence your own desires for the sake of others, you teach the world a dangerous lesson: that your needs do not matter. People begin to see you not as a person, but as a tool, a resource, a servant. And once they learn they can take from you without resistance, they will never stop. Schopenhauer understood this brutal reality. In his philosophy, life is driven by will, the raw, unrelenting force of survival and desire. To surrender your will, to constantly suppress it in order to serve others, is to betray your very existence. You do not become virtuous. You become hollow. You become a shadow of yourself, existing only to reflect what others want you to be. This is why good people are often the ones who suffer the most. They attract manipulators, abusers, parasites. Why? Because predators know instinctively who will not fight back. The overly kind, the endlessly forgiving, the ones who cannot say no. These are the easiest targets. And what makes it worse is that society applauds this weakness. It calls it kindness. It calls it selflessness. It calls it moral strength. But Schopenhauer would strip away these illusions and call it what it is: a lack of will. Think of the last time you swallowed your anger to keep the peace. The last time you agreed to something that broke you inside because you didn't want to seem selfish. The last time you gave forgiveness to someone who never deserved it, only because you were afraid of conflict. Did it make you stronger? Or did it leave you feeling smaller, emptier, weaker? This is the hidden cost of being good. You disappear. You become invisible behind your endless yeses, your quiet obedience, your polite smiles. And while you may believe this makes you noble, in reality it makes you forgettable. The world does not remember those who never drew boundaries. It remembers those who had the courage to stand firm. Schopenhauer believed that kindness without strength is not kindness at all. It is weakness in disguise. True kindness comes from power, from the ability to say no and yet choosing yes, from the ability to fight and yet choosing peace. Without this strength, your so-called goodness is nothing more than fear pretending to be virtue. The brutal truth is this: if you are always good, you will never be respected. Schopenhauer saw life as a battlefield of wills. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the most powerful king, is driven by will, the raw force to survive, to dominate, to exist. This will is relentless, blind, and merciless. It does not care for morality or fairness. It only seeks to satisfy itself. To live, then, is to engage in conflict, to protect what is yours, to carve out a space for your existence, to assert your will against the wills of others. What happens when you refuse this struggle? When you suppress your will in the name of endless goodness? You become prey. You stand unarmed in a world of weapons. You hand your life over to stronger wills who will not hesitate to use you for their own ends. Schopenhauer believed that morality, when corrupted, teaches exactly this weakness. That suppressing your will is noble, that sacrificing yourself endlessly is virtuous, that suffering in silence is holy. But this is a lie that chains the spirit and feeds the strong with the bodies of the weak. Consider how society trains you. From childhood, you are told to share, to obey, to respect authority, to put others first. And while cooperation is necessary for survival, blind obedience is not. You learn to ignore the fire in your chest, the voice that says, I want, I need, I refuse. Slowly, you lose the ability to assert yourself. By the time you are grown, the mask of goodness is so tight on your face that you cannot even imagine life without it. You say yes without thinking. You apologize when you did nothing wrong. You carry guilt for sins that were never yours. And what is the reward for this sacrifice? At best, a hollow approval. At worst, exploitation. People will take as much as you are willing to give, and when you are drained, they will discard you. Schopenhauer would call this the tragedy of the good soul, admired publicly, devoured privately. But the most dangerous cost is internal. Every time you betray your will, you weaken it, and over years, it withers. You no longer know what you want, what you believe, who you are. You become a hollow vessel filled with the demands of others. The irony is that while you try to be loved, you become invisible. While you try to be respected, you become ignored. Schopenhauer's brutal insight is this: endless kindness is not moral strength, it is self-destruction. True morality, if it exists at all, must include the preservation of the self. To give when you can, to help when it is right, but never at the cost of your soul. Because once you lose your will, you are no longer living. You are merely existing as a servant to the wills of others. So the question is not, are you a good person? The real question is, whose will are you serving, yours or theirs? If these words echo inside you, if you've felt the weight of being too good for too long, then don't just leave in silence. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and keep walking with me into these brutal truths. The path out of this prison is not to abandon kindness altogether, but to reclaim your will. Schopenhauer did not despise compassion. He despised weakness disguised as compassion. He knew that kindness without boundaries is not virtue, but slavery. To give your time, your energy, your love without limit is not noble, it is wasteful. It empties you until nothing remains. True kindness must come from strength, not fear. It is the power to say no when your soul demands it. It is the courage to refuse when giving would destroy you. It is the wisdom to recognize when someone is taking, not receiving. To be truly good, you must first be strong enough to protect yourself. Without this, your goodness is hollow, a mask worn to hide your fear of conflict. Think of the difference. The weak man forgives because he is afraid to fight. The strong man forgives because he could fight, but chooses not to. The weak man gives because he is afraid to say no. The strong man gives because he has abundance to share. The weak man is kind to be liked. The strong man is kind because he is free. Schopenhauer would remind you that morality built on weakness is manipulation. It turns you into a servant, a slave to the demands of others. But morality built on strength creates freedom, for yourself and for those you choose to give to. Only then does kindness have value. So where do you begin? You begin with boundaries. You begin by recognizing the small betrayals you commit against yourself every day. The unnecessary yes, the false smile, the apology you never owed. Each of these is a crack in your will. Each is a gift to someone who did not earn it. Stop giving yourself away so cheaply. Reclaim your no. Reclaim your anger. Reclaim your right to exist as you are, not as others demand you to be. Kindness is not about erasing yourself for the comfort of others. Kindness is choosing to share your strength when you have enough to give, and if you have none left, the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for the world, is to say no. Because the truth is brutal, endless kindness does not save you, it destroys you. And only when you draw the line, only when you honor your will, can your kindness finally become real. And if these words resonate with you, if you've ever felt the weight of being drained by your own goodness, then take one small action right now. Break the cycle. Show that your will is alive. Like this video, and remember, even the smallest act of defiance is a step toward freedom. The world will not stop asking for more. The moment you give yourself away without resistance, you teach others that your time, your energy, your soul are theirs to take. And they will take endlessly until you are empty. Schopenhauer's brutal truth is that life is a struggle of wills. Either you assert yours, or you are swallowed by the wills of others. There is no middle ground. But here lies the paradox. Society will always applaud the mask of endless kindness. They will cheer your sacrifices. They will admire your politeness. They will praise your selflessness. And while they applaud, you quietly vanish. The mask smiles while the real self withers. So ask yourself, is this the life you want? A life lived for others, applauded but unseen? Or will you dare to stand for yourself, to reclaim your will, to risk rejection in exchange for authenticity? This is not an easy path. It requires you to endure conflict, to say no when you are expected to say yes, to endure the disappointment of those who benefited from your weakness. But in that moment of refusal, you rediscover your strength. And only then can your kindness finally be true, because it will no longer come from fear, but from freedom. Schopenhauer would not tell you to abandon goodness. He would tell you to transform it, to wield it like a sword, not a chain, to give not because you are afraid, but because you are free. This is the brutal, liberating truth. Kindness without strength kills you. But kindness born of strength can save you. And so I leave you with a question. When was the last time you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no? And how much longer will you betray yourself in the name of being good? If these words strike something inside you, don't remain passive. Prove to yourself that you can act without hesitation. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and join this journey into the truths most people are too afraid to face. Because if being too good is the mask that suffocates you, then toxic love is the trap that chains you. And in the next video, we will uncover how love can turn into addiction, how attachment becomes a prison, and how to escape before it destroys your soul.